microbes survive a trip to Mars? Yes, it is possible for microorganisms to survive the journey from here to Mars. And that's why we have a program specifically dedicated to making sure the spacecraft is clean before it leaves. We want to ensure that if we detect life on Mars, that we are certain that it did not come from Earth. The journey to Mars includes the hard vacuum of space, UV and ionizing radiation, and drastic temperature changes depending on if you're facing the sun or shielded away from it. These are conditions that most microbes on Earth could not survive. One prominent type of microbe that could survive the journey are called bacteria endospores, which can form seed-like structures that allow them to stay dormant until better conditions arise. This superpower is why spore-forming bacteria are given special focus when NASA cleans their spacecraft for Mars. Just to give you an idea, the Mars 2020 mission, which includes the Perseverance rover, carried 10 times less bacteria than what you'd find in a teaspoon of seawater. So yes, it's possible for a microbe to survive the journey from here to Mars, but it's our job to make sure it doesn't hitch a ride on our spacecraft.
Is Mars habitable? Well, maybe. The question is it habitable and for whom? Mars is hundreds of degrees colder than Earth, it has 100 times less atmosphere, and that atmosphere has hardly any oxygen. But there may be other forms of life that could have evolved that aren't very much like us, but are very much like the early forms of life that evolved on Earth. Mars has evidence of being warmer in the past and of having stable liquid surface water for potentially hundreds of thousands of years. So it's possible that in Mars's past, there was a time where life could have evolved in that particular environment. We have been trying to answer that question definitively. Is Mars habitable? And as of yet, the answer is still definitely maybe.
Will an asteroid ever hit Earth? Yes, asteroids have hit Earth over the course of its history, and it will happen again. Dust, meteoroids, even small asteroids hit Earth all the time, and they create those meteors or shooting stars that you see as they disintegrate in the atmosphere. But impacts of asteroids that affect the surface are much rarer. They happen on timescales of hundreds to thousands to millions of years, since the larger they are, the fewer there are, but also less difficult to find. Finding them early is important for advanced warning and to mitigate against potential future impact threats.
Is there weather on Mars? The short answer is yes, of course. The weather on Mars is in some sense very similar to the one we have here on Earth. We have seasons, for example, strong winds and clouds. But we can also find huge differences. The thermal variations are wider than on Earth. For example, with Perseverance, in a single day we can go from -14 Fahrenheit to -120 Fahrenheit. So this is really extreme. Other interesting meteorological phenomena occur on Mars are the local, regional, or even global dust storms. To better understand these weather variations and the climate, Perseverance has an instrument that will focus on the study of the Martian atmosphere. This is the MEDA instrument. MEDA stands for Mars Environmental Dynamic Analyzer. Curiosity and InSight have their own meteorological station, and together with MEDA on Perseverance, we will be having the first meteorological network on another planet. The three of them working simultaneously will help us better understand the atmospheric dynamic. So, is there weather on Mars? Yes, and it is really, really fascinating.
Do aliens exist? Interesting question, and one that we have been trying to understand and explore and figure out for a really long time. We have not yet discovered life on any other planet. We haven't seen any scientifically supported evidence for extraterrestrial life. But if we think about life on this planet beyond the big things, the elephants, the whales, redwoods, and focus on the tiny things, nearly everywhere on Earth that we've looked, we found microbial life. And our definition of habitable continues to expand. Off the Earth, we've only begun to look. NASA has sent 5 rovers and 4 landers to the surface of Mars. In addition to that, our orbiters have been outfitted with some amazing cameras to take pictures of the whole surface of the planet. And we've only explored a tiny fraction of Mars. And that's only one of the promising bodies to look for life in our solar system. There are icy moons in the outer solar system like Enceladus and Europa that look like they may have subsurface oceans that could be habitable. And then that's just what's in our solar system. The more exoplanets we find around other stars, the more we learn about how many different environments could exist for life. So we can't yet say for sure whether or not aliens exist. But to quote Carl Sagan, the universe is a pretty big place. If it's just us, it seems like an awful waste of space. So, we will keep looking.